back to me for a sec. I'm a computer again. Let's throw this back on.
This is the Doing Better show, and we're going to be doing better today.
You kind of have to just like have an open
Get the
mind
old intro, there you
coming
go.
into the
Are
world.
my son?
People think that there's
Yeah.
a difference. Like, no, I'm working smarter. Like, no, you're just being lazy.
And even if Fox News and MSNBC take different views on a topic, the topics are the same thing on all the channels.
Does Des need help putting it so it goes to the cameras?
I don't think so. You go to the camera's desk. I think we're good. Go up there and then back down to me.
There you go.
And hopefully we're good there.
Let me just make sure that it reflects on the actual thing.
Does it reflect on the actual thing?
Yep, I see.
Beautiful.
yeah, I'm
All
better than
right.
I
That's
just hear your music.
beautiful. You still hear music? There we go. It should be off now. There
Not
we go.
anymore.
Beautiful. Good. Okay.
I'm better
See you in
than
a minute.
everyone else here.
Perfect.
Only person who can do this.
You are the greatest.
I am.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Doing Better Show. My name is Oliver X, rolling up the sleeves, getting ready to go. It's been, we were like totally here on time today. I swear to God, we were all here, settled in, good to go. We were here well ahead of time. Our lovely guest, Kaylie, was here like an hour ago. We were just chilling, get it all settled in. I was here like hours ago, getting everything set up. Still shit goes wrong, so technical difficulties continue to plague us on the Doing Better Show, but so it goes. Thank you for joining us. It is Sunday night, December 22nd in the holiday season, and we have a wonderful show for you tonight. We're going to get into all kinds of heavy stuff a little bit later on. I figured we'd start light because we have a lovely guest here today, and then we're gonna talk to her about her fun stuff, and then we're gonna talk about some holiday stuff and try and have a nice positive start to our day, and then we'll get into all the bullshit that is the world and digest it and try and get to some place of at least serenity and hopefully plans of action and ways that we can make positive impact on the world around us. All that said, I would like to thank everyone for being here. I am joined today by our lovely guest, Kaylie Ortiz. Welcome, Kaylie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It is so nice to have you. I'm so sorry you had to wait around for us fucking around and trying to get things right for the infinitieth time. We also have Top Hat Johnny in the house.
It's good to be back.
And Yoga Beth.
Hi, how's it going?
Great friends of the show who have been with us for a long time in the Doing Better Show history, in the pantheon of Doing Better Show. All right. Oh, and of course, engineer Des.
Hola.
There you go, with his manly, deep 15-year-old voice.
You don't have to fucking dox me like that.
Don't worry, he won't talk too much, I promise.
Aw.
Are you guys gonna do the Wizard of Oz thing? Just the voice behind the curtain?
Do you know, in 8th grade, I was the Wizard of Oz in my school play? And I was kind of good at it. I had that like attitude, but I never learned all my lines. So I kind of like ad-libbed the whole big speech at the end that the wizard gives. And my the woman who ran the whole thing was not super impressed with my lack of focus. But it was a lovely show. And I don't think anyone noticed that I was making the shit up as I went along. So, all right. Let me give you a little preview of some of the fun stuff we're going to get into later on. We're going to talk about Omali Yeshitela, who we spoke about in the first season of the Doing Better Show, who's a member of a Uhuru, which is a black nationalist group, and he was recently under charges. Him and his group were recently under charges of basically espionage for the Russian government. So we have an update on that because a big ruling just came down in that case. So I'm kind of excited for that. We got to touch on the drone stuff again because it's December 2024. I guess we got to talk about drones. So we'll touch on that a little bit too. Then I got we want to talk a little Luigi Mangione. I have a couple of things I want to share on that and hear everybody's perspective on that particular issue. Then, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk some Palestine because that is still going on and it is should certainly be a leading story from a humanitarian perspective. If we care about one CEO getting gunned down, are going to put all sorts of resources and energy into that. You'd think we'd care about thousands of innocent children dying that we're paying for. So we'll get to that. And then we'll get to Syria, because that's really, in my opinion, one of the biggest things going on right now. Yet another government that we've effectively toppled, and another government that we've put into the hands of extremists, and probably not going to go well. So I want to keep everyone present on that one. But first, we're going to talk to our guest. So, Kaylie, you come to us because you're going to tell us about some of your modeling and some of the stuff that you have going on. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, where are you from, and how did you get into the whole modeling scene?
I am from Lawrence, and I got into modeling through a friend. He asked me if I wanted to join a photo shoot, and I did. And from there, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting the people, going, like, checking out this abandoned place. And from there, I saw a show called Mass Fashion.
Yeah.
And I wanted to join Runway, like, to see if I can. So I asked him, I was like, let's practice, let's try and get into shows. And from there, I did Runway, and that's how I met different photographers, different models, like networking. So I kind of just got there from Runway.
Did you always have aspirations of modeling when you were younger?
Not really when I was younger. I think when I was 20, like 2 years ago, I wanted to try modeling, but I just didn't know how, so I just really didn't pursue it. And then when I kind of saw an opportunity that I was like, it doesn't hurt to try, I took the chance, and it kind of worked out for me.
That's awesome. So what is it like doing a runway show, specifically your first runway show? I feel like that, I think most of us at this point in time have seen America's Next Top Model or some of those things. We have some exposure to the industry from a...
Pardon?
Camera angles, thank you.
On you.
Well, while I'm talking, that'd be nice. I know she's much prettier than I am, but still, I'm not too bad, for an old man. So we'll have a little bit of exposure to, like, the modeling world, but only through the lens of TV, which who knows how real that is. What's it like in real life?
It's definitely fun, but it's very stressful. Like, TV doesn't show how quick you have to change, especially if you have many designers. You gotta, like, get on top of that. You have to make sure that your clothes are set up. You know where your designers are. All your stuff is in order, I guess, like, in the best way you can. So it really, it just messes. It's really, like, messy, and it's fun though. It's fun. Don't get me wrong.
How does it look at your level of, like, just getting into modeling? Mm-hmm. How is that different than what we see at the the sort of the top level of modeling? Like, how is it different? What's your role in the industry?
So starting out, it's definitely smaller shows, less eyes on you.
Yeah.
Which is nothing wrong. Smaller runways, little designers, like local designers, a little more. So it's definitely nice to be part of smaller shows, especially for your first one. But the more you get into it, the more people that go to the shows, the more eyes, the more walks, the more complicated, like, routines. Like, it becomes a lot more. The more designers, the more you got to change, the more stuff you got to bring. It becomes just more, basically. Everything just kind of expands. Like, it's all the same, but just, like, it grows from it.
I found that, so I've done some, did you do something on my mic? There we go.
My bad.
It's okay. So I found, playing music, that when you have a small show, it's sometimes more nerve-wracking than a big show. Like, if I'm performing for 20 people versus 200 people, 20 people, I think I'm more nervous than if it's 200 people, if that makes sense. Because in 200 it's just like the crowd, and you just, like, sort of see the crowd, and it's whatever. But I think 20 people, you're like, all right, like, you notice the individuals in the group. I found that, so I don't think that, like, necessarily there's anything less nervous about a small group. I also think there's something really the reason I asked about sort of your role in the industry, because I would imagine, working smaller shows, you're working for smaller, sort of more involved, really passionate designers, And I think that's certainly in Lawrence, there's a really thriving fashion industry in
It's
this area.
growing. Yeah, no, it's definitely growing. I've noticed that they're trying to hold a lot more stuff, like little shows. I've noticed they're having casting calls. Like it's kind of like photo shoots. They just built like this really cool studio up on Canal.
Yeah.
It's definitely becoming a lot more, and I like seeing it grow out of Boston into smaller places like Lawrence. Like Lawrence is not that small, but it is a lower income place. So it's nice to see people having the opportunities and the chances to take to take their step forward into modeling or designing or directing, like anything, any shows, or any like little videos anyone wants to hold. I think it's awesome to see like Lawrence thrive.
Yeah, I certainly think from a position of arts, I think Lawrence is uniquely situated to take advantage of some of these opportunities and do really well. I think when you have an immigrant community of people moving here from all over the world with all different cultures, and it's sort of like this own little sort of half melting pot, sort of cultural outposts here, right? You have
Everyone calls it Little DR.
So I think there's that piece, but you also have a decent number, certainly in recent years, of like non-Dominicans who are coming here,
yeah,
right? Like,
I've noticed that. Growing up, there was I was in South Lawrence, so it was definitely a mix of races. And I noticed North tends to have a lot of Hispanics, but in the growing years, it's just everyone's kind of coming here. And I think it's pretty nice to see the different cultures get thrown into the place. Like a lot of people trying new foods, a lot of people checking out new places. Like it's really sweet to see, honestly.
and I think all of those things are sparks for creativity. So whether you're a musician, whether you're a designer, whether you're a dancer, whether you anything creative, I think all those things, seeing different cultures influence you, seeing how cultures adapt to different environments, I think all those things really breed the culture and breed art, and I think it's really great to see that developing.
Oh no, I agree. I think it's quite beautiful, honestly. Growing up, Lawrence has never been that bad. Like North, it's had its struggles, but at the end of the day, it's nice to see them fixing up buildings, everyone coming together for these little shows, and people just kind of putting themselves out there. I think it sheds a better light on Lawrence than what is being said. Lawrence very much has like a bad reputation, and I think it's not as bad. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. People make it out to be a stereotype where it's just full of thugs and gangs and stuff, when it's really not as bad as people assume. And it's actually quite nice. Like the parks, it's pretty, and especially the river.
I mean, I think that's a theme that we've had a lot on the show because we've been based out of Lawrence for most of our time on the show. And I taught in Lawrence for 6 years. And I remember talking to people, other teachers from outside of the area, and being like, oh, what do you teach? Oh, I teach in Lawrence. Oh my God, all my pearls are getting clutched. I can't believe it must be so blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's just kids. It's teaching kids. Kids are the same everywhere. Kids in Lawrence it's the same as any other city. And like, there's certainly trouble to be found. If you want to go find some trouble, you can go find some trouble.
But you can find trouble anywhere.
But you can find trouble anywhere, and it doesn't look for you. Like that's been my experience.
You can find trouble in Hamilton, Mass. That's where I went to high school.
Yeah,
You probably find more.
certainly. And
Agreed.
My wife is from Lawrence. I've spent a lot of my life in Lawrence, and I've never had a time when I was like, oh no, Lawrence is coming to get me. Like there was never any any sketchy situation I was in was of my own choice and making, and like there was no.
I find that hard to believe.
There's no like outside sketch and like, oh my God, it's such a dangerous place. Like it's just not factually true. And I think it's great that anytime we have the opportunity to push back against the myth of the scary Lawrence myth, like I'm happy to be a part of that. And I never
Not
feel
until I get property. If I get let's get the property down so I can get some property, and then we can correct it.
good luck with that.
Yeah.
Fine.
To add a little gas on that fire. So, I fish out of Gloucester, and Gloucester is becoming Newburyport South.
Yeah.
And like a couple years ago, there was an article about how Gloucester is the greatest small town that no one's ever heard of, and now people that grew up there can't afford to live there because everyone and their brothers moving to Gloucester, and like I could see that happening in Lawrence.
Yeah. The goal for me has always been Lawrence, and I may have an opportunity to move over here, at least for my business, that I don't want anyone to know about it just yet. Until I can get the lease.
Yeah, back in the 80s, I mean, not to hijack this, but back in the 80s, there was a fish processing plant in Gloucester called the Dehyde. And so houses in East Gloucester they weren't worth anything. And so people came in, bought them all up, and then they got the Dehyde shut down, and now you can't touch a house. And if you buy a house in Gloucester for $400,000, you're tearing it down.
Yeah.
And these are houses that when I was in high school were $35,000-$40,000 houses.
Yeah.
And I think inevitably Lawrence is going to head for that type of gentrification because you're 35 minutes from Boston at the intersection of two major highways, right? Like it's gonna be the spot. And if you look at so like you're saying in Gloucester, if you go into Haverhill has already had this happen largely. Haverhill used to be very inexpensive. Nashua, where I live, used to be very inexpensive, and all these places are too close to Boston. They're too good of a commuting location, and all those values are going super high. I mean, I remember when you could buy the Seaport District in Boston was shitty and run down, and that was an undesirable place. And now it's $1 bajillion to try and try and go there.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Essex, but that was back when Essex was still Essex, and back before it became Manchester by the Marsh.
So do you have a sense, Kaylie, of so you said things are getting fixed up. Do you feel like it's on an upward trajectory?
Yes.
Do you?
Especially South.
Yes.
South has always been the better, considered the better part because it's not as congested as North can see. North is pretty congested in those complexes and the buildings. So I've noticed already driving through Lawrence. I don't really drive through Lawrence too much, but looking through, all you see is these new buildings, these pretty paintings. Everything has become beautified, and I think it's definitely on the upward of they want money. Realistically, because everything's becoming expensive. I love that Lawrence is becoming beautiful and it's not being as stereotyped, but that also means everything's going to become expensive.
Is there a way to avoid that? Is there a way that things can become nicer without getting gentrified?
No, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, with how everything seems, I'm not going to pretend I'm completely educated on this stuff, but from what I can see alone, it's as soon as a place becomes slightly desirable, everyone's going to go there, and that's when it costs so much more. Houses, apartments, you can't live anywhere. You truly cannot live anywhere because everything costs your soul.
No, it's true, and I think even with the stereotypes of Lawrence, rent is not cheap here.
Oh my God!
It's not.
No.
You'd expect when you're scary Lawrence, where you're gonna get shot by drug dealers.
Still
It must be so cheap to live there. No, you're still talking well over $1,000 for a studio apartment, right? There's no cheap living.
Unfortunately, not anymore. No, there's not. I don't believe there'll ever be cheap living anymore. Once it shot up, it's not coming back down. It's super unlikely, I believe so. Just how I've seen so far, how everything has increased the way it has. And again, if it's pretty enough, you're going to see a lot of people come. A lot of people.
These things always do happen in cycles. So normally our economy is on an 8 to 12 year recession cycle.
Yeah. So
things will get better, and then rich people make $1 bajillion, and the rest of us get by. And then things go down because because of the usually the availability of capital, and then rich people still do just fine, and the rest of us fucking choke it, and then barely survive, and then we continue another cycle. And we were sort of due for one of those down cycles right around 2020, and we got COVID instead, and they printed $8 trillion. That sound about right, John? It's somewhere around that range, right?
I don't know what the numbers are, but I remember reading multiple times that a solid third of the dollars that exist have been printed in the last 5 years.
Yeah. So they printed a huge amount of money to give us those checks, right? Remember we got the check in the mail,
yeah.
And they gave all these companies ridiculous amounts of money. Did you know that they gave musicians money? Some musicians got COVID money. Chris Brown got $4 million in COVID money from the taxpayers.
There was I can't remember what city it was, but there was an orchestra that got a ton of money so that they wouldn't lay off their musicians, and as soon as they got the money, they laid off their musicians.
And a bunch of companies did that too with that COVID relief fund money. But in order to fund that bill, they printed a ton of money. And I remember when everyone was getting the checks and being the asshole that I am who says things on Facebook that nobody likes.
Inflation is good. It means that minimum wage will go up, and that's good.
Yes, John. So I remember when everyone was getting those $1,200 checks, and I remember being like, listen, people, don't be happy about this because I guarantee it's going to cost you more in inflation than you ever got in this check. And if you look at how much more people have been paying on their gas and their heating and their cars and their rent and their mortgage since then, that's been true time and time again, right? I mean, if you just look at the cost in housing, how much it's gone up, your $1,200 that you got, what's the most people got? About $4,000, I think, from the government.
Yeah.
Something about
I got
that.
nothing.
But the best case scenario, I think, was you got about $4,000 over those checks if you had kids and whatever. There's no way that $4,000 did not get eaten up by your increased rent, increased car insurance, increased gas, and increased food prices and whatever.
And a lot of that money just filtered through to your most rich people like Jeff Bezos and and the Walmart family.
Yeah.
Because I won't say nobody, but not many people spent that money on things that would retain value.
No, most people spend it on surviving.
And
Yeah.
if you were an essential worker like myself, we got nothing. We never saw a single check the entire time because, well, you don't need it. You are working full time. You don't need the money. And we were the ones working.
I mean, the whole essential worker shutting down people, telling people some people aren't going to job, you're going to stay home and order DoorDash or whatever, while other people still have to deliver your groceries and all those sort of things, was like clearly right off the bat, like something's a little fishy because
those policies saved lives.
John is playing the role of Facebook today.
I was the essential worker at Market Basket Cafe. I was an essential worker for the Market Basket Cafe.
I was an essential worker putting T-shirts in boxes. I was working for Life is Good, and it was essential that people got their T-shirts.
Yeah.
And we had literally 100 people in our meeting room for all of November, December 2020, January 21, 22, like right in that like everyone's gonna die phase when we were all gonna die. The first winter.
2019 through 2020.
No, the 20 through 21 when everyone was still locked down and like whatever we were all.
No, everything was pretty much opened up by that point.
Oh, I don't know.
Because 2019.
Could I go in a store without a mask on?
Yeah.
No, bullshit. I could not. I couldn't go in any stores without a. Well, I put a gator on because I realized it's horseshit fake signs.
I wore my goalie mask
We
into
couldn't
Market
get
Basket.
masks in 2020. In 2020, I was the safety officer, and I would be in the safety meeting, and they would say that they would not give us money to buy masks because it would be poor morale to wear a mask in work. From the beginning of 2020, so January 2020, until our vice president's mother passed away, and then he took a credit card and bought masks. And that's what we had to do. We had to pay for all of our own PPE because our company actually said, and if we see you wearing these, it's bad for morale. So I started wearing Nabik, which is... I
don't know what that is.
So, you know that a habib, no, a habib means I love you, but the headscarves.
Oh,
for
okay.
women, and a beak is the veil that goes around the headscarf.
Okay. So I was not intending to get on COVID stuff today, and we're not getting into it because that's a whole nother show. But it does tie into it is. But it does tie into what we're going to talk about later for the drone stuff. Actually, it ties in right with my conspiracy theory about the drones. So worked out perfectly. Hey, Daisy, welcome.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Pretty good.
Good. We were just getting into it. I'm talking with Kaylie a little bit about her modeling, and then about Lawrence and its up and coming nature.
I was watching the stream on my phone.
Of course you were. Yeah. What are your takes on? Do you get the same up and coming vibe out of Lawrence, and do you think there's a way to avoid it being gentrified?
I mean, yeah. If we keeping it local, there's a lot of local participation. People are buying a lot more locally now. A lot more cash is going around rather than cards. So it's a good thing to see. I see that if it stays like that, then it's not going to be like, the rest of the world.
That's interesting. So you think there's a level of agency that if people are aware that this is going to happen?
I think people are aware. Like, every business sucks. Like, you can't even rely on an Uber nowadays. You can't even rely on a DoorDash.
Well, that is certainly true. I think big business is becoming steadily less reliable for all the things we pretend it should be reliable for. And I think that does create an opportunity for small business to step in and
if you're competent right now is the best time for you to be making money.
All right, so I have a non-sarcastic comment.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yes.
All right.
No sarcasm. I think one of the keys to keep the gentrification from happening is, and I don't know if there's any way to legally do this, but you need to keep it from happening, in my opinion, you need the local people to be buying up the property, not money from out of town. That's what turned Essex into what it is. That's what turned Gloucester into what's happening. If you can keep your local business, if your local businesses are doing great, but BlackRock buys the building and starts jacking their rent up,
Right.
That's going to speed up your gentrification. Whereas if you've got Lawrence people buying Lawrence property because they've been here for 10 generations, it's going to be much different than when outside capital comes in and starts buying it up because they want to make a profit and they see Lawrence as a profit-making place.
Well, and then there's a middle ground because
Yeah.
I'm having a major problem doing what I want to do because I moved here in 1996. So supposedly I'm not from here because I moved here 30 years ago.
Yeah,
But I think
the question was, how do you keep it from becoming gentrified?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that's
yeah.
But then who do you define as Lawrence people and who do you define as outsiders?
Well, I'm not a Lawrence person, so I can't define that. I will leave that to the people who live here.
But that sounds like a what is a woman answer.
Hey, I trust the science. The science is settled, and it can't be questioned by anybody, ever, especially not me.
So I think I don't think there's any legal structure to do what you're talking about.
No, I
and I
agree.
think that sort of eliminates your question. But I think there is a way that in a community you can make that happen, right?
Right.
Because essentially what we're talking about, we're not talking about Beth moving from Haverhill to Lawrence and destroying the whole place, right?
Well, I'm not even from Haverhill.
You know what I'm saying? Like from one town over, whatever, or moving, quite frankly, from fucking Ohio to Lawrence. It doesn't really matter, or Florida to Lawrence, or China to Lawrence. What we're talking about is large amounts. BlackRock is not moving to Lawrence.
No.
They're just buying large amounts of houses. TD Bank or whatever, or fill in your private equity firm is not moving to Lawrence. They're buying the house so you can't buy the house. Yes. That's the entire purpose of them buying the house, is so you can't buy it and so they can control the rent, right? Yes. So the solution is not to say, oh, well, if you weren't born in Lawrence, you can't fucking come here, da-da-da. It's people saying, I'm not going to take more money from BlackRock. I'm going to sell it to a person. I'm going to sell it to Bob or Miguel or Sally. You know what I'm saying? I'm not selling it to X Bank, right? Like that's so one thing when you do psychological experiments, right? If you're doing an experiment, you always have to, almost always, there's some level of deception, right? You almost always have to lie to your participants when you do a psych. If you're studying, or do people like their neighbors better if they live above them or below them, or something random like that. You can't tell people, hey, we're going to study which neighbors you like better, the above neighbors or the below neighbors, because then they know what they're being studied on, and it ruins the results. I think the same is true for fuckery. Like, I think when the man is coming with fuckery and black banks buying up houses so normal people can't buy them is upper class oligarch fuckery. Like, it just is what it is. But the moment we know that it's going on and we're like, hey, fuckery. Everyone knows it's fuckery, right? We're not gonna, don't you participate in fuckery. You're my neighbor and I'm gonna hold you accountable if you participate in fuckery. And if you sell your bakery to Fuckery Inc., like, we're not friends anymore and we're all judging you and you're out of the church and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not coming to the cookout and, like, right down the line. And, like, there has to be a cultural piece there when people come together and go, we're not participating in fuckery. Because it always happens because BlackRock is going to offer you more money than Bob can. Because Bob had to work for his money, and BlackRock gets to print it out of thin air because they have pictures of the president. Let's be honest. Like, that's how this whole system works. All right, so we got on that was an interesting, see what happens on the Doing Better show? We start talking about modeling, and it's gentrification. Kaylie, let's talk more about your stuff. Any others? What would you like to share about what's going on in your career? Would you like things you'd like to plug, things you'd like some energy for, things you'd like some focus on?
Okay, so currently I'm ambassador for Mass Fashion.
Ooh.
So there will be a casting on the 18th, and I will be there. Everyone that wants to try runway should be there. It's going to be here in Lawrence. So I think it'd be a fun experience. I want to double check what that is. I am a poor planner. My apologies.
If you guys didn't know, she's actually like top 5 in all the models,
Oh.
especially that walks. Like everybody, when they see her turn the corner, it's like, Kaylie, every show. Even from the no, I got videos. I record the events. I got you. Not loaded up, but I got you.
Well, I'm so sorry. I just want to
It's
like.
fine. I'm a worse planner than you.
What's can you mass fashion? Is that's an organization? Can you tell us about it?
Okay, so Mass Fashion is basically it's a local fashion show that Megan, she's the director of it, has put together to try and bring engagement from smaller towns. So we did one in Worcester at the DCU Center this year.
Cool.
And we also did one here in Lawrence at the Vault. So I think I think it's definitely been a beautiful thing to witness grow. Yeah, like everything has their bumps, but honestly, it's getting better. And so being a part of it really excites me because I to see what more it can become. Like it's already a lot. Like a lot of people know, a lot of people are signing up, a lot of faces are trying to come around, be a part of that too. So to watch and to be able to witness that Saturday, everyone try and like push to their dreams. It's beautiful, honestly. I love it. It's exciting.
I love that energy and that same, that sort of passion project energy. And it's so different than, so I don't know if you guys have ever been to a big corporate event when you have like the CEO telling you about like what's going on, and they try and like fake that kind of energy. They try and get like, all right guys, like let's do it. We're going to really do it for Q2 this year. We're going to smash them. And like, it's so different than the vibe that you just gave. And like, when DZ talks about what he's going on, anybody, we've had so many good artists on the show and so many people share with us their passion, and it's just so inspiring, and it makes me so much, for me, it just makes me want to go work hard. As opposed to that fake, like, makes me want to like go hide in the break room and not do any work for the rest of my life. So, thank you.
Again,
thank you.
No sarcasm. The best way, in my opinion, to measure success is by the smile on your face when you tell people what you do for a living. And yours was huge, and it actually made me smile.
Thank you. It's because, honestly, I love what I do. Like, even though I say it's stressful, it can be, I truly love runway. Like, I love meeting the people. I love trying the clothes, meeting the designers, the photographers, seeing those photos. It's amazing. It's truly been so exciting to be a part of.
Look at you all giggly.
It's awesome.
Because I never thought I'd be here.
Yeah.
You tell me in the beginning, in like January, like the person I was then to what I am now is actually insane. Like, it's awesome.
Tell more about that. What do you mean? How have you changed? How's it affected you?
January, I was really quiet. Like, I have really bad social anxiety, and I just can never really talk to anyone. I can never really put myself out there. Like, yeah, I'm weird, like, in my own dimension, but I never really put myself to speak with others, and especially do this. Like, the anxiety I would have had January is actually insane. Like, I get nervous habits, like I rub my hands. You can't really see under the table though. But I was really never wanted to do more. Like, I was really home a lot. Like, sometimes I'll go with friends, but I never wanted to meet people because I'm like, what if they hate me? What if they don't like my personality? What if this and that and that? But ever since I started modeling, it kind of forces you to go out of your bubble. It forces you to like interact with others, actually meet people, have people come up to you, have people want to talk to you, have people want to take pictures of you, have people want to just hang out with you. Like, it's honestly beautiful. It's amazing. And I've loved the person I've grown into, because it's kind of like a second puberty. Like, I've grown, like, I had the physical grow up, but now it's like emotionally and mentally I've definitely matured to someone a little more adult-like. I want to say I'm fully adult, but I'm adultish. I'm getting there.
Yeah, I'm still working on that myself too. So.
I'm going to be 54 in February, and I'm still like a 12-year-old kid. I just have adult money now.
I love it though. At least it's like you hold true to yourself.
Oh yeah.
And that's the one thing I always struggled with, is like actually being who I am. Because again, I can be a lot. I can be a yapper. I can be many things, and I'm not everyone's cup of tea. But I used to blame myself for that, and I used to like because of that, I didn't want to speak to others. I got nervous. So
again, no sarcasm. Give yourself a hand for what are you, 22? You said.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm very young. Yes.
Yeah. after a shit ton of therapy, and at age 52, I started to figure out the stuff you're figuring out at 22.
Yeah.
So good for you for figuring it out now and being okay. Like, embrace the fucking weird.
Yeah.
Embrace it. This is who I am. You know, like fucking. If you'd have told me like 10 years ago, you'd be, you know, Top Hat Johnny doing comedy and doing podcasts and doing all this weird shit that everyone's just like, John, shut up, just stop talking. Like I never would have believed it. So good on you for figuring this out in your 20s.
Thank you.
I think there's so much there, but I'm so sort of inspired and excited by this. But I think what you're talking about, especially how you tied it in with some mental health stuff, is so important, because I think it's and again, I think the way Johnny brought it back to this being this rite of passage kind of thing. I think for successful people is that
I'm actually going to interject. It's not just a rite of passage. It's like the license and the permission to be who you are.
Right.
I spent 50-something years trying to fit in a fucking box I wasn't supposed to fit in.
Right.
And it took me to my 50s to figure out, like, the person that I am is actually pretty damn good. And there's a lot of people that like me.
Right.
So, like, it makes my heart sing that, you know, this young lady is figuring this out in her 20s. And, like, thank God you don't got to do the shit I went through.
It definitely took a long time. I definitely have like confidence issues. Like, it's gotten so much better, but growing up, I really was like,
Oh, yeah. I'm totally related to everything you're saying.
oh my God.
And
It
when
was
you
like-
do modeling, it does tear away. I did it 10 years ago, and I gained like 50 pounds, and I got a skin problem because I was doing so many cosmetics. So I completely understand, and if you can keep a hold of yourself, that's more important than anything else.
And I think that's so great. And I think there's a theme that goes far beyond modeling, not to move away from modeling, but that I think there's such finding the thing that you want to. You said it's stressful, right? The thing that you want to go stress over, the thing that's going to push you out of your comfort zone, is something that we all need to do. And part of that is acknowledging that you're not everybody's cup of tea, right? Like, your comedy is not going to appeal to everyone. Some people are going to think you're a terrible model. Some people think I'm terrible at writing words. Some people think you're a terrible performer, right? Like, for everybody, look at the most success. Look at Beyonce and Taylor Swift, right? These are the most successful people in music. And if you go around the room and say, "Hey, does everyone love them?" You're not going to find too many rooms, except for at their concerts, that everyone loves, or at middle school, that everybody loves those people, right? Like, at the highest level of achievement in any single thing, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And I think once you can, like, shed that and then be willing to put yourself out there and grow as a result of what you're going through, because that's what you did, right? Like, you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, things that you were anticipating being really anxious about, and you probably were at first. And but the more you do it, the easier it gets, and then you're on to the next challenge, and like, that is life.
Exactly. So when it came to like doing castings for Runway, I definitely was terrified. Like, the nerves was crazy, but now I kind of just call it the plot of life. I call it the plot of my life, because I'm like, even if I go in, get rejected, get accepted, either way, I did it for the plot. Did it for the plot. I had fun with it. I got to meet the people I want to meet. Like, I did a casting last weekend, and I got to see so many models I know, and one of them came up to me, and she was like, "I hear your name everywhere," and I'm like, what? She's like, "Yeah, like, don't I surprise?" I was like, "No, I am surprised," because again, I took a chance, and you know what? I got rejected from shows. It's not that big of a deal, because at the end of the day, not everyone's gonna like my walk. Not everyone's gonna like my look. Not everyone's gonna agree with the fact that I'm 5'6", not 6 foot, and it's okay, because there are people that want me. That is the difference. There are people that want me to be a part of their show, and I go try out. Where I'm wanted, I'm wanted. Where I'm not, I'm not. I'm not gonna dread over it. I'm gonna be like, darn it, all right, next one. That's it.
Yeah, I wish someone had taught me earlier in life to not let other people quantify my self-worth. That, like, it's...
One thing that I found out too, especially like in the model world, at least when it comes to rejection, sometimes you're not getting rejected for, like, you know, it's your walk or your look or anything. Sometimes people are just looking for something specific, and it's not that. And some people, like, you'd be surprised the average model doesn't know that, so they'll take it personally. But then when you've worked with like designers, photographers, other people like behind the scenes, that you find out that sometimes you don't even get accepted for, you know, the things that you think that you do.
Absolutely, and I think this is a universal thing, right? If you're applying for a job, you could be a great candidate, but there's, we're just looking for a certain certification that you don't have, right? If you're trying to go out on a date with a pretty girl, right? Like, you might not be her type for some reason that has nothing to do with you, and it's quite frankly irrelevant. It's not a judgment of your value, and I think as much as we can not let people judge our value in a way that impacts us, because people will judge your value, but other people's opinions are none of your business.
Exactly.
Like, unless you make them your business, and I think that's such a it's a requirement for mental health. I think in certainly in 2024, the ability to go, I don't care what most people think, and like I really am gonna go do me and put myself out there is so hard, but essential. I think to be successful in kind of anything. Like, I can't think of too many things you can be successful in if you're perseverating over the last time you were rejected.
Not to go down a wormhole, but how much of our public education for kids teaches them the opposite? You've got to be what everyone else wants you to be. You've got to fit in this box. You've got to be cookie cutter. And I think that's the hole that I fell in. And the fact that I didn't fit in that box, I wasted, well, I won't say I wasted, but I spent a good chunk of my life trying to conform when I've got fucking undiagnosed ADHD, I possibly on the autism scale, and no tools to deal with any of that. Right. Just, why can't you be like your cousin? Why can't you be like your sister? Why can't you be like this person? And good on you for just being you.
Yeah, comparison's killed me.
Yeah.
I hate it. I compare. Like, I'm surprised now, like, it's known that people will compare themselves in the modeling industry, but surprisingly, I've kind of, like, all I do is admire, because I'm like, you know what? I can't change what I look like. I can't fix my height. I can't really change my body. Like, I'm happy with the way I am, and at the end of the day, I'm happy for the models that love the way they look, and the ones who are struggling with it, they'll figure their things out, because there's no one in the same, and that's the thing. Like, going off of what you said, people need to understand that no one can be the same. There are no two people. Yeah, some people might act similar, but they're not you, you're not them. There's no reason for you to feel like you have to be them, for you have to fit that look, be one and the same. It's boring. The same stuff is boring. That is it. Just be authentic self. That's it.
Yeah.
I think it's the most fun.
I needed to hear that 40 years ago when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah. Trust, I needed to hear that too. Like, I'm not old, but I needed that as a kid, man. Like, oh God, because I have ADHD too.
Oh yeah.
So I
Wait, what?
I used to get one of my teachers.
Right now.
One of my teachers used to call me shiny things because I got distracted so easily because I was not on.
All right, so no lie, I saw a meme on Facebook. If you have a report card that says not living up to expectations, easily distracted, can't stay on task, whatever, like. And then my mom gave me my 6th grade report card. I opened it up, and side by side with the meme, they were the fucking same.
Oh yeah.
I got some of that too.
And like my whole life, it's like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be right? And it's like, all of these things that I was beat up for my whole life are now like my superpowers. Yeah. Like all the things that I can do that nobody else can do. Like besides poetry and comedy. I rebuilt a complete fucking lobster boat by myself, and I'm a pretty successful lobsterman. And people are like, "You do comedy? Like those things don't." So yeah, I don't want to take away from the guest, but like you fucking keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. I'm all fucking excited.
Thank you.
I also I think your admiring versus hating or feeling threatened by thing I think is so powerful too, because you could admire someone for the ways in which they're different than you, right? And she's beautiful in a way that I'm a totally different way, right? So I can think of an artist who a rapper who's good in a totally different way than I am, and say, well, that's not who I am. That's great. I'm great. There's also another thing in admiration. You go, oh, they're better at that thing than me. They have a certain technique, right? For a runway, I'd imagine you see someone doing a walk, you go, ooh, that little thing that she does, like, oh, yes. I'm stealing that. Like, I want to try that. And same thing for, I think, all artists, and same thing for people, professionals, right? If you see someone who's a more successful lobsterman than you, rather than hating on them, you go, oh, wait, what are they doing? Oh, they go out at what time? Oh, they do, I don't know the ins and outs. But
true story. Like, when I first started lobstering, I did it exactly how my father did. And, like, we were poor. we were fucking dirt poor. And then I worked on some other boats, and I bought some traps from a very successful lobsterman that I know my father would have been like, who the fuck would fish these? These are cool. And so I would put 10 of these guys' traps, and then 10 of my father's, and 10 of these guys' traps, and then 10 of my father's. And we'd haul my dad's traps, and we'd catch like 8 lobsters. And we'd haul this guy's traps, and we'd get like 25. And the guy that was on the boat that day still remembers this. I had a fucking breakdown. I was like, we didn't need to be on fucking free lunch. I could have had a new fucking bike. We didn't have to be fucking poor. And like, if my dad saw my operation right now, it'd be you sons of bitches with your big boats and your open sterns and your long trawls and your fancy buoys. You're not even a fucking fisherman. You're not doing it right. And again, don't mean to fucking take over. Yeah.
But I like how you characterize it as a crisis, right? Because there is...
No, I did. I fucking had a breakdown. I started crying. I was smashing shit. And the guy that's working with me was like, John, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
But I think there's so many times we're confronted in life, right? With that, like, the way that I've been doing things is not right. Other people have figured out a better way of doing things than this, right?
Yes.
And the way that you react in that moment is everything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because
it was life-changing.
Because the second way of doing it is like, no, this is all bullshit. This is, you come up with some lie. Well, he's just fucking da-da-da-da-da.
You wouldn't catch those lobsters fishing with traps like mine. Actual words that came out of my father's mouth.
Right. So I think there's, like, you can be defensive of your old, less functional way of doing things, or you can adapt to something new and sort of move on and grow. And that's it's good you were able to do that. And similarly, it's good that you with your anxiety, right? Like, you sort of moved beyond that and said, like, that's my old way of operating, and like, that doesn't serve me. I'm going to move on to a newer, better way of operating.
Yeah, exactly. All I did was just, I kind of bite the bullet. I just, like, I know it's easier said than done. Trust me, I know. But I kind of realized that it's doing me no good. It truly was. It was holding me back. I wouldn't have the opportunities I would had I not talked to, like, people. So instead of just being, like, in the corner, I'll be like, hi, I'm Kaylie. Like, I'll be shy. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like it's gone. Like, it's I just started modeling this year, and this is what has helped me. So it has been less than a year, but the progress from, like, I've seen myself, and even like, my friends have seen is insane, and I love it. I'm like,
fun fact, she was like one of the first models ever for the Doing Better clothes, but I was also a noob at photography. I didn't know that SD cards could get messed up, and now I have PTSD. Yeah, just seeing the growth from back then, even like at that old studio to now, it's like, it's crazy. Even your modeling, every single show, it's like you get better every single time.
Oh my god, thank you.
All right, can we? I want to do our 5 standard Doing Better show questions for guests.
No.
All right.
All right. So, question 1 is about your background. So, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And what about where you're from makes you who you are?
Okay, I was born in New Jersey, but I moved to Lawrence when I was like 4 months old, and then I grew up in Lawrence up until I was 16, and I moved to Methuen. Lawrence, it's definitely helped me. Good question, actually. I'm trying to think. It helped me, like, kind of develop as a person, like, because I was surrounded by good friends that were as weird as me. Like, I definitely got bullied a bit, because, again, I was weird, I was annoying, I know I was, and there's a lot of people that's spreading my lore. I know there's people hitting up my friend, telling him about how I was in middle school. No thank you. Anywho. No thanks. Anywho. But it's helped me just learn who I am, honestly. Like, it wasn't perfect, but I got to be a kid. Like, in South Lawrence, all I did growing up in middle school was bike. Just bike around, go to bodega, spend all my money on snacks, and talk to my friends. That was truly it. Like, I didn't need more. I didn't have less. I just was happy where I was. I got to do and just be a kid. Lack of phones. Got to be outside. Got to enjoy parks. Got to do whatever, like, fun stuff I wanted to, because my mom trusted me. Because, again, I was friends with the weirdos, but not the bad kind. The ones that just wanted to be kids. And I wouldn't have changed it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's
sounds
awesome.
Normal. That doesn't even sound like weird kids.
It does.
Nowadays,
Oh, I'm talking about personality-wise. What we did was, like, normal stuff, like just get food, do our thing. Personality-wise, that's a different story.
Yeah. It saddens and scares me that I think you might have been the last generation to ride around on your bike for your life. I mean, that was literally, you just described my childhood, was just riding around on my bike. And
I got a 9-year-old little brother that still rides around on his bike.
Good.
It's a dirt
Okay.
bike now, but it's,
Okay, there's a difference. Let's say
There
that.
is.
Regular
There
bikes
is
at
no
first at
working out.
7, 8 years old, but then, his mom wanted to get him a dirt bike for some reason, and he got a dirt bike.
Okay. Where have you been that has had the biggest impact on you? Where have you traveled to that had the biggest impact on you?
DR. I am Dominican myself, so my parents took me to DR, and seeing the differences from here in the United States to DR is crazy.
Where did you go in DR? Like to visit friends and family?
Yeah, like I went to go visit like my dad, and we just went to a resort too, just to go back. And honestly, it's really nice like being in the capital, but when you go further out, it's like you see it's not what it's like here. Like further from the capital, the powers go out for hours on end, and people kind of just are used to it. And then at the end of the day, it's like people don't understand the privilege of power. People don't understand that the lights on is a privilege.
Yeah.
People don't have that there. A lot of people, like, there would be almost a full day with no power, the whole night, because it's just they can't. Like, pulling away from the capital, it's like no money. No one has the money to. So the only people that are doing fine there are people, like, in the richer areas. So it definitely made me appreciate, like, the culture, but also appreciate, like, the fact that I have the things that not everyone does. Like, I have the privilege to be able to just turn on my light and go in my room. That's it. And not everyone can do that, unfortunately. So
It's crazy because a power outage over here for a day would cause mass hysteria.
I'll be
But
honest.
then
People
over there,
they freak out. It's like, oh my God, power outage. I know Wi-Fi. What am I going to do? And then it's like someone in DR is like,
40
oh.
weeks later, we know exactly what they did.
Tell me, you sort of already answered this one, but maybe you'll have a second answer for it because your first answer was so good. All right. So, what's one thing you're doing better now than the old you? How did you make that change? We've sort of already talked about that. I don't know if you have a second thing you'd like to reflect on. Coming out of your shell was obviously a major accomplishment in and of itself.
I've just matured in the way I try and go about things. I used to have a very narrow mindset when I was like talk to friends. I try to be better with it. I'm a very emotional person. Shocking. But I try to pull emotion away. Like, I've made very emotional choices this year, and yeah, some worked out, some didn't. But I'm learning little by little how to not be a petty person, how to not be passive aggressive. It's not easy. I'm so passive aggressive with my family. But I'm trying to be better and grow and, like, go little by little. It's definitely taking a lot longer than going over my anxiety because I do it without realizing.
Yeah.
But I'm trying. And I know that's what matters, but I'm trying for the results. So
I think that's a great one. It's so hard to manage, especially if you're a driven, passionate, maybe a little mercurial person such as myself. It can be really hard to manage relationships with that. It's like I know so many times that I've ended up butting heads with people and reacting in ways that were so incredibly unhelpful and accomplished the opposite of what I was hoping to because I'm so just passionate. I care so much, and it's all so, and it's hard sometimes to go, all right, what do I want to get out of this interaction? How am I going to accomplish that? How do I expect other people to feel when I talk to them the way that I talk to them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a great lesson.
I like to use comparison for that. As how we were talking about comparison before. There's a bad way of comparing and there's a good way of comparing. So like I have some customers in my job that like piss me off, but then it's like, what if this person was my little brother? They piss me off, but I'm not gonna talk to them the way that I want to talk to this person in front of me, and
That's
that
great.
way, that stopped me from, sometimes I don't have to hold my, what I'm gonna say to them, but I want to be a better person. I know I'm gonna have to do that. So even today, like I was looking at a guy, he just complaining to me, I've been here 4 times, this and that was going wrong, I'm like, bro, I have never seen you in my life. Let me just solve your problem, and then I don't have to listen to you. But I'm like, this anger that I'm feeling, if I was talking to my little brother, I wouldn't be feeling like this. So I'm like, you know what, you're my little brother for the next 30 seconds. And that kind of, the dude shaked my hand. He was like, oh, this was the best experience I've had in the 4 times I've been here this month. And
That's very wise. You guys, that's a nice little piece of advice from DZ. I like that.
I've been learning a lot from Aaron. Aaron, the guest from last week.
Yeah.
Amazing, because we showed after here for a couple of hours. That's one of the things that I got from the person that he put me on to watch on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a great one. I apologize, by the way, if you're hearing lots of car noise in the background. The building that we're in is very, very hot, so we had to crack the window. And we're all very hot, passionate people putting off all kinds of energy as well. So if you hear the little vroom vrooms, it's because we're in Lawrence and the window's open. So, all right, question number 4. What could we be doing better in your community? And what needs to happen? What needs to change in order for that to happen?
Stereotypes. I think that we need to stop stereotyping people and by the way they like look and dress. I think it's a big issue. I know that again, Lawrence though has its positives. Yeah, it's not perfect. There are some issues, but it doesn't help stereotyping others into that position. Because honestly, if you're treated like a thug, you're gonna eventually just be like, screw it. People look at me like I'm a thug. What's the difference? I can be an upstanding citizen, but because of the way I dress, you're gonna look at me like I'm some gangster. So I'm just gonna do my thing.
That's interesting. So you think people are taking on that stereotype from others, like sort of taking on the identity of the stereotype?
Yeah, I believe it's a bit of an issue. Like, because if you think about it, you're an upstanding citizen. You've tried your whole life to prove to be some, but because you look a certain way, wouldn't you get a little tired?
I think so, and I think sometimes it's natural.
Young.
Yeah.
Young, though.
And I think sometimes it's natural to behave in the way that people expect you to behave.
Exactly. It's kind of like you're forced into the box. And I think that, again, Lawrence is nice, but also we need to hold it accountable for such. Because of the people, like, seeing Lawrence students being like, ugh, like looking at them. Because I've seen people judge Lawrence. Like, I've told people I'm from Lawrence, and the looks I get are crazy.
You saw anybody outside of Lawrence, they're from Lawrence, they always got something to say about Lawrence.
Exactly.
Like, why can't I just say I'm from, like, Springfield, and then we just go to the next conversation?
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to mention something about
Bruh, Springfield? Woof.
There's a lot of
do
different
that non-jokingly.
playing.
That's the crazy
Yeah.
part. People will do that. People go Lawrence like it's a competition, bro. Lawrence, no, it's Lawrence. It's a town you live in. It's really not that bad.
It's a
So like Lowell people, I've had look at me like Lawrence. Okay,
I
cool.
will be in Lawrence at 2 in the morning. I will not be in Lowell at 2 in the morning.
But I think there's
There's
thing.
only one place I've been almost mugged, and it was not Lawrence.
Yeah.
You see, they hold so hard to a stereotype, and at this point, it kind of just sticks with Lawrence. It's like it's a thug place, so it stays a thug place. Like no.
But I think people do. I think there are some people who are from here that'll play into that and be like, yeah, from Lawrence. Like,
100%.
yeah, like I know people who are like, I'm from the hood. Like, cool.
You see
know,
what I
like-
mean? And the hood is like just a couple close houses. Nothing actually happens. I'm from the ghetto. Like it's something to be proud of.
Right.
I'm from the hood. Rent is $3,000 a month.
Like yeah. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it really is nothing to be proud of. Like
Right.
to call it ghetto, call it the hood. Like you're from Lawrence. That's it. That's all it is. Just say Lawrence. There's no more to it. Stop playing into it. Stop pretending that it's some ghetto trash place. It's not. Lawrence can be beautiful. As long as people just stop calling it that.
Yeah, and I think the thing that makes me hopeful is I think if you go back in 10 or 15 years, there was much more of the like proud to be from the hood thing, and I think now there's a much more, especially your age group, your guys, like there's a lot of people who are doing things from here.
Bro, we have beautiful models, we have amazing photographers, we have amazing videographers, we have so much music. Rest in peace, Knowledge. He died recently, but
Right.
he was literally going on world tours. He's one of the most renowned people that have done the
Yeah.
dancehall genre. Like, there's a lot of things that's here, but people want to be from the hood.
Terminology, Rex, as well.
Exactly.
Entrepreneurs, restaurants, just this building that we're in is inspiring to come in and out of because there's lots of these really small office spaces like the one that we're in now, and lots of people just starting up and on some kind of come up.
I used to do karate here.
There you go, karate.
Yeah. Is this an old mill building?
I think these are all old mill buildings. Yeah.
No, they're all old, and I like how they're refurnishing
I
it,
love
but
it,
also
yeah.
it's like expensive, so
They're
we're
like
not gonna
building
get
a
back
little
into
mini mall
that.
on Essex Street. I'm trying to get in on that. I'm hoping I can get a spot on that.
Dude,
So I have
that's
a
nice,
book that my grandfather gave me before he died called The Run of the Mill, and it's a history of the mill industry in New England. And one of my bucket list things is to go to every mill building in that book. So I got to figure out which building this is and see if it's in the book or not.
Oh, that's awesome. We're
The Lorenzo building.
We're gonna have a friend of mine is gonna join us on a future show. My friend Jeff, he's gonna come and talk to us. He's big into the labor movement stuff, and I think we're gonna have a show about the labor movement a little bit, because a lot of that movement, people, the weekends and unions and days off and sick leave, come from this part of the world, come from people working in these buildings in the textile industry in the 1800s and et cetera, et cetera. So
even with a lot of like the cotton production and a lot of processing here, it's no reason or no coincidence why like a lot of fashion comes out of here. Like shout out Outcast Seven from out here too. But yeah, there's a lot of local stuff that's going on around here, and just with history, like a lot of people around the world got their cotton from us, or they got a lot of the stuff that they made their clothes from us for a while.
All right, last question for our last official interview question. What is your favorite food? It's part A of the question. Your favorite meal?
Ramen.
Oh my God.
This one's gonna be
Worst answer yet by far to that. I think you might have had the best answer yet to a couple of these questions. By far the worst answer yet to that question, and it's not even close. I want to make you. Sorry.
gonna say cup noodles.
Sorry. Oh, ramen like good. Yeah. Like fun. Like okay. Okay. Sorry.
I'm cheering clear just in case.
Let me specify. Restaurant ramen.
I projected my own stereotypes onto your answer, and I apologize for that.
I eat them.
Okay.
Those are so bad. They're so bad for you. Those cupped ones are bad.
Yes. No. Real ramen is very yummy. Sorry.
Where have you tried the best ramen around here? Akita.
Where's that?
In Andover.
Okay.
It's really good. I
Shout out.
suggest it.
All right, so part B of that question, would you rather never eat ramen again, or only eat ramen for the rest of your life?
Only eat ramen for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's dedication.
I'll destroy
hesitation.
it. It's good. It hurts my stomach, but it's so worth it. It's like dairy. In fact, I'm lactose intolerant, so I will still destroy ice cream. Anyone that knows me knows I will destroy an unhealthy amount of dairy.
And then just pay the price?
Yeah. Because it's not always what you think. It can be a stomachache, and I'll sit there in pain, but I'll be like, it's so worth it. I have no regrets.
I'm the same way, except I can do without the ice cream. It's the cheese that gets me. I'll like sit there and be like the brie and the camembert and little cheddar, and I'll just plow that all back, and then like an hour later I'm like, my doubled over in pain.
Grilled cheese is my weakness. I put cheese on like everything. I love mac and cheese.
I recently developed celiac, although I think they should change it to silly suck, because it really sucks. But if I became dairy intolerant, I think I'd just put a gun in my mouth.
Wow.
Because I literally drink a half a gallon of chocolate milk every day. Like I have a little thing on my boat that I can put the half gallon of chocolate milk in, and a frozen water bottle like this next to it to keep it cold. And like, if I don't have that, my crew's like, "Oh, we're fucked today."
For the record, the Doing Better show does not endorse suicide as a way of dealing with lactose intolerance.
Yet.
Just cope. Just cope.
All right.
Cope
Let's.
with,
I would love.
lactose.
I would love to move on to some other stuff. If you would like to, if we can move on to some other stuff. Can we move on? All right. So, Des, will you give me my... I didn't need much. Sorry. We can talk about anything else if you'd like to first.
You don't want to talk about dairy some more?
No, you don't want to talk about what happens with me with dairy. That is not an interesting conversation.
I bet you it is.
All right. So, we talked way back in our first season about Omali Yeshitela and Uhuru. So, this is a African socialist group. They're... Mind you, doesn't. They're African nationalists. So they're basically on the left, sort of technically. They're socially organized. They want basically independence for African people in America. They aren't really big in any political. They're not big political players. They're not involved in any major movements. They came under fire a couple of years ago. They've basically been involved in protests, anti-government protests on a whole bunch of levels against militarism And they've been around since the civil rights movement. So they're around since the 60s involved. And they have had many run-ins with the police. This guy, Omali Yashitella, and a few other guys in the group have been abused repeatedly by police and have had lawsuits and back and forth and whatever. They ended up targeted by, I believe it was the FBI or Homeland Security in Florida, and they were convicted in September of conspiring with Russian agents. So there were two charges. One was if they were actually agents, and one is if they conspired to be agents. And they were, the charge of them actually being agents, they didn't get convicted for, but the charge of conspiring to be agents, they were convicted for.
You thought about being an agent.
So,
Going to jail.
bingo. So it was effectively a thought crime. And that's what the judge effectively said that when he gave the sentencing. He gave them no time, gave them probation, because he said you didn't get convicted of the thing. The reason I bring this up now, and the reason I brought it up at the time, is this is, in my opinion, a fairly transparent attack on freedom of speech. These people are organizers. They're anti-war. They're anti-government in a lot of ways, and that's what got them in the sights. And the reason I brought it up, this is about a year and a half ago, was a lot of sort of conservatives had fallen into the target of government and were being, certainly with COVID stuff, with gender stuff, a few other things, having their freedom of speech trampled on all over by the technocrats and the government. You know, if you remember the Twitter files, there's similar documentation about YouTube, Facebook, basically how the government through pseudo independent organizations was going after, was interfering in in all these different platforms to squash freedom of speech. And they did it very effectively throughout COVID. They silenced all kinds of people on a whole bunch of topics. They've silenced all kinds of people, and also for people on the entire opposite side of the political spectrum, Omali Yashitella and his group, Uhuru, they're also silencing them. And the way they did it this time was with some more Russia conspiracy nonsense. Like, let's be honest, what connection would these people have with the Russian government? How could they be any useful tool for the Russian government? Some random group of like 17 people who protest in Florida are not bringing down our government for the Ruskies. Like, give me a fucking break. So I wanted to, I just wanted to bring that up because it's one way in which our court system has somewhat succeeded in that these people are not getting prison time, even though their entire lives have been disrupted for the last couple of years on these fairly ridiculous accusations. And it's something we see basically throughout American media, is anyone who says anything that our government doesn't like, well, they're working for the Russians, right? Glenn Greenwald, one of my favorite journalists, has been accused of working with the Russians. The Gray Zone, one of my favorite websites, is always, it's just for the Russians. Tulsi Gabbard got accused of being a Russian agent or a patsy for Syria and all, one thing after the other. Anyone who's a challenge to the power structure in any way is going to get panned in this way. So I just wanted to bring back that.
That's hilarious how they're getting convicted. Well, they're getting convicted for thinking about that, but then there's a bunch of wellness gurus or therapists online that'll say you are not your thoughts. But in the whole judicial system, I guess that doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that of people getting any charges for anything along these lines is just ridiculous.
And you're getting convicted for something?
Right. Oh, and you talked to somebody from Russia, so therefore you must be a Russian agent.
Like, what's the proof that I thought that?
Careful now. Yeah. You'll be next. Careful, Danny was.
So no sarcasm.
Thought about it.
Nah, I work for the Dominicans. I don't work for the Russians. I work for the Dominicans.
So no sarcasm. The reason that I have developed this insane level of sarcasm is to avoid getting in trouble on Facebook. Like the things that I want to say, if I said them, I'd be shadow banned, or I would get in. Like all of my friends are in Facebook jail, and I just like. One of my favorite books I ever read in high school is A Modest Proposal, written by Jonathan Swift.
Yep.
Same guy that wrote Gulliver's Travels. Unbelievably powerful sarcasm. He suggested, he was trying to raise awareness to how bad things were in Ireland. No one would listen to him. So he wrote a paper about how we should allow the Irish to harvest their children for food
Eat the babies,
because then the kids will have a short life, but it'll be really good. And it went viral in the 1700s. And so I oftentimes, if you see anything I post online, I'll often say, not my opinion, just a modest proposal. And that's my tip of my hat that I am being facetious. But the algorithms don't pick up on sarcasm. I will take something that somebody believes that I really disagree with, and I will just say it with a straight face and take it one step further towards its logical conclusion, and you can get away with it to the point that people that I agree with are like, "Who the fuck are you?" And then other people will be like, "It's John. You have to understand," much like you did last week.
Cool. So that's I just want to. We will always come back to freedom of speech. It's probably my number one. I'm a civil rights guy above all else. That's the thing that I care about most is people having rights. So we will always come back to that. If you guys out there have any good stories related to civil rights, related to freedom of speech, related to government trampling freedom of speech, please let us know. doingbettershow@gmail.com or comment on any of the things. All right. I wanted to talk about drones briefly. Shout out to Bernie if you're out there. It was a response to your comment. So we got a little story here. We'll play a little wee Joe. Is my sound on? I think so. Hopefully it's not too loud. Let's see if I get this right.
Thank you very much.
Today, President-elect Trump accused the Biden administration of keeping Americans in the dark on drones.
The government knows what is happening, and for some reason they want to keep people in suspense.
What is that?
The sightings fueling fear and frustration. On Sunday, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said there is no national security threat.
We know of no foreign involvement with respect to the sightings in the Northeast.
But Mayorkas did say the federal government has deployed additional resources to assist New Jersey State Police.
That's concerning.
Sean Golden is the Monmouth County.
All right, that's enough of that.
We're just gonna send some money that's probably gonna go back in our pockets.
What do you think about the drones, Kaylee? What's your take? You have a drone thought?
Honestly, even if there were an issue, they're not going to tell us. I truly believe that they are going to avoid mass hysteria in any way possible. Because imagine trying to tell people, oh, these are a threat. The freak out would be insane. But I don't agree them lying. If say they are lying, why? Like why can't we know? You know what I mean? I'm not a big person that speaks on these topics. But I watch a lot of these videos, and I'm like, what kind of theories are out there?
So I'm developing my own theory, and it relates back to what we were talking about earlier with COVID. So I basically don't take any of these stories on face value anymore because I think everything's full of shit. So my take is I think we're in a time similar to the beginning of COVID. Remember the beginning of COVID was like, everything's fine, don't worry about it. Oh, no, everything's terrible. Here's people falling down in China dying. Oh, but it's no big deal. Oh, you definitely have to wear a mask. Oh, definitely don't need to wear a mask. Oh, and there was all this confusion and mayhem in official places and unofficial places, and there was an air of no one knows what's going on, and it's crazy. And I feel the same way about this. And I think the strategy, again, this is very conspiratorial. This is for information purposes or only, whatever the fuck YouTube wants me to say. But you get the point. I feel like they're trying to sell us a big lie. I think there's a big lie on the horizon, and I think this confusion is to facilitate that big lie. That if you want to tell a big lie, you got to make people sort of all disoriented and in a situation in which they're ready to swallow a big lie. Now, I don't know what that big lie is going to be, whether they're going to fake an alien invasion or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you remember when they were throwing out like some, I can't remember, something bad happened, and they threw out aliens are real.
Yeah.
As the years of them being, no, that's not aliens, that's stars. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait, actually, aliens are real.
The last couple of years, people's testifying in Congress, yeah.
And that's what I feel like it's like kind of going to be. It's like, oh, this is nothing, and then they're going to throw something out. Say something happens, they're going to use this as like, wait, here, let me distract you real quick. Focus on this. Don't focus on this. Focus on this. Look at, oh no, drones. actually kind of bad. Wait, be scared. But let's ignore all these issues that we're funding and doing and all this stuff.
That's believable.
I think the timing makes sense around Syria and all that stuff. I think that absolutely makes sense.
If you notice like stuff that are so stupid, like there was something was going on. You remember when Wendy Williams passed out?
Yes.
I saw a lot of thoughts on that. That it was like the timing of her passing out and how quickly that spread. When there was like something going on, like some real weird stuff going on that they were like, oh no, Wendy Williams. Oh, worry about her real quick, and then kind of just disappeared. Like no real dehydration. Have you seen a person pass out from dehydration?
I have not, but I'm not a medical professional.
It's not like that. If you, it's not like that.
That goes back to you're a model. You know exactly what it looks like because I've done that too.
Dude.
And they thought I was on drugs. They were like, what did you have? I'm like, nothing. That's the problem.
That happened.
I think, in no uncertain terms, there's not going to be an alien invasion. There's no such thing as an alien invasion. Let me go on the record right now. That's not a thing. And here's why it's not a thing. It's not because aliens don't exist. I have no fucking idea. Maybe aliens exist. If they know how to get here, they win. They win. If they know how to get here or through whatever different, different dimension or whatever, or to travel above light speed, right? Like that's what it takes because we are 5 light years from the closest star. There's not likely any life there. When you're talking about a life in terms of the size of the universe, you're talking going many times the speed of light, which in our understanding of physics is not possible. So if they get here, that means they have an understanding of physics that is like levels above us, meaning we can't beat them. There's that's like going to war with, if groundhogs decided to mount a war against us. Like the groundhogs aren't winning. It's not going to happen. And we will be, if aliens get here, we are much closer to groundhogs intellectually than aliens are to us. So there's no alien invasion. It's not a thing. If they're here, we exist because they're nice enough to let us exist, or because there's some moral understanding about the universe that we don't currently understand, and that there's some karma or energy or some wonderful reason why they haven't eaten us yet. Or maybe they are currently eating us. Who the fuck knows? But there's no alien invasion.
We're probably like some type of hybrid, because look at every other species on the planet and then look at us. Like definitely an alien came over here and got busy. Like,
we're the different.
I don't find that. No offense to Christians this time of year, but I don't find the aliens getting busy with apes any stranger than virgin birth of our Lord and Savior. So
some people in the Campos and Dominican Republic, they're out here like doing things that they shouldn't be. That makes a lot of people look bad. And even in other parts of the country, other different, it's a lot less. Imagine you could travel the whole universe and you're in, a random planet. But I don't want to say me, but I'm just saying that type of person, those type of people in the universe.
So what you're saying is the alien invasion already happened?
100%.
Oh my God, yes. If aliens are real, realistically, they would have been here by now. They probably don't care for us. Because we're like...
I heard that they locked their doors, going past Earth like they were going through Lawrence.
Just in case.
Ew, dirty.
All right.
Sorry, I could not.
They stopped at Big and Beefy with the doors locked, and they just,
I love Big and Beefy. Yeah, I love their grilled cheese.
I'm actually partial to the chili dogs.
I haven't tried. I need to try.
Oh, before we leave the alien thing.
Yeah.
I find it, I don't know if it's ironic, but if you've ever listened to the original War of the Worlds broadcast that Orson Welles did, where people were killing themselves, it's New Jersey. That's where the first one lands. It's in Trenton, New Jersey. And it's crazy that when that broadcast was done, rockets did not exist yet. They figured that the Martians put themselves in a shell and shot it out of a cannon on Mars, and it got here on kinetic energy.
I've heard about that. I've heard about that theory that Mars was ruined, so then they went to Earth, and Earth is the next Mars.
Yeah.
But if
you ever get a chance to listen to it, even in 2024, it holds up. It's a really good broadcast.
Yeah, you can get copies of it at the public library. Usually, they have it on CD now.
Oh, okay,
because,
cool.
I remember getting the CD as a kid, so.
I had it on tape because I'm older than you.
Beth always has the resources for the getting things for free from public resources, so I like it. All right, I want to take a quick.
How I keep my money.
I like it. I want to take a quick pivot to Luigi Mangione, and I'm going to share. This is one of my favorite. So I got really into TikTok during COVID, and I had like a pretty good following on there. I actually stopped posting on TikTok for the same reason you talking sarcasm on Facebook, because all my shit got taken down. Well, this wonderful woman has managed to keep her stuff from not getting taken down. She's really funny. Her name's Tony Nagy. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. I think she might be from New Hampshire. I might try and get her on the show one time, actually. She's hilarious. One of my favorite TikTokers, and she's actually not doing it in this thing, but her normal thing is to talk about whatever her thing is while she does interpretive dance, and it's fucking hilarious. So if you ever get a chance to check out Tony Nagy, do that. But I'm gonna put her, she and I have similar thoughts on a lot of things. So I think she sort of I want to hear her version of what's going on with Luigi Mangione and her take on it. See what you guys think.
Something smells fishy about this whole Luigi situation. And no, it is definitely not me, because I took a shower like 2 or 3 days ago. My personal brand is to question the official narrative of anything that I'm being like forced to believe. So that is what I'm planning on doing with this current here now moment. Number 1, the manifesto at McDonald's. Like, oh, I'm just going to bring my manifesto to McDonald's. Truly, who came up with that? That feels like a marketing strategy. In a time where companies are having the hardest time, like deep-throating their products into our face, I do think the manifesto at McDonald's is a vibe. It's just too convenient, you know? Like, oh yeah, I just brought all the evidence with me in my backpack. It makes me do that. It makes me do like, I don't know. Nah. Also, the fact that they keep referencing his back pain as part of his motivation for doing that, I mean, as someone with chronic back pain, relatable content. They did also say that he has Lyme disease, and Lyme disease does affect your brain. But it also was created by the government, so karma's a bitch, I should've known better. This is definitely just a joke, ha ha ha. But the fact that this kid comes from a wealthy family who made their money from real estate, part of me is like, wait a minute, are there lithium mines underneath that family's real estate? Because, like, what? I want to know more about this CEO, because right now it's being presented that Luigi had the V is for vendetta against the CEO, but perhaps the CEO had to go because of some government agenda that we don't even know. Was that a haiku? Or like iambic pentameter? I know a lot of us want to be like, oh, this is like the French Revolution. This is the beginning of an uprising. I don't know how to tell you this, but during the French Revolution, they did not have nanobot drones. They didn't have DARPA-infused military-grade technology. There wasn't like this mass surveillance happening during the French Revolution. I mean, the level of advanced weaponry and surveillance and tech that is currently in the hands of the government, funded by us, is going to be a problem when it comes to our revolution. If we're like thinking we can like combat the government. Also, not to poo-poo on France, but it's not like the current French regime is a utopia of any sorts. Yeah, there are lots of baguettes, but from an economic standpoint, France is doing the same capitalist choreography as the rest of the world. Even though the French Revolution did have a momentary impact on their...
I don't want to watch the whole video. I just wanted... Engineer Des has something to throw in. What do you want to say, Des?
All right. So have you ever seen the his favorite Pokemon, right? The Breloom. There's like a theory about how he has a certain amount of posts on his I think Twitter.
You talking about Luigi Mangione?
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of posts on his Twitter. It was 286, and if you look into the Pokedex, that is the no. I know this is getting nerdy. This is getting on my nerdy shit. But no. So in the National Pokedex, Breloom is number 286 in the Pokedex. And there's a quote in the Bible about something, I can't remember specifically, but I think it was 28 verse 6, something like that. It's a whole ass thing. I just wanted to sprinkle that in because I want to talk about Pokemon.
Well, so that actually relates well, because there are so many levels of conspiracy theory about this Luigi Mangione guy, whether or not the CEO was going to testify against Nancy Pelosi in an insider trading thing. I haven't looked enough. I looked a little bit into that. It seemed maybe not very believable because Nancy Pelosi is the queen of insider trading, has made a absolute fucking fortune using government secrets to get rich while we all, carry the bucket. So, I've heard that version. There's some of the pictures look like not him in the guy at the one camera right versus the other one. Also looks like not him.
They found like his backpack in a park, but also found it at a different place. Like it's very. The stories are not connecting.
And like people with six packs don't go to McDonald's. I'm sorry, and that dude's in way too good shape to be eating at McDonald's. So with his entire manifesto and evidence in the backpack,
yeah, like he's being hunted. You're telling me if you're being hunted for murdering a CEO, you're gonna have your manifesto at a McDonald's? And I heard that like all his stuff was missing, like all that, like they found the jacket, but the jacket was on him. Like they found stuff, but yet the stuff was on him. Like you're be realistic, right? If you plan out to murder a CEO, are you going to keep everything on your person? No. And then
just takes watching a couple Law and Orders, right? And you'd have enough knowledge to be like, yeah, let's not do that.
Exactly. Like I would never commit a crime, but if I'm in a hypothetical situation, if I'm committing a crime, I'm not going to a public place and bringing my manifesto and everything that could apparently be used against me. Why the fuck would you bring it? To get a fucking Big Mac? You wouldn't. You would burn it. You would throw it. You would do whatever you can with it. I also have you seen the TikToks of him?
No, tell me about the TikToks.
Don't even. Oh my god.
They're putting it on the news. Now he's like, so everyone loves him, right? Everyone, like, normal person loves this man, and the amount of fucking TikToks that romanticize him is so great to watch. Have you the Britney Spears song, "Criminal"? It's like, I'm in love with the criminal with his photos is wonderful. And then all I keep seeing though is they're trying to degrade him. They keep showing him, like, they showed a photo of him with piss on his pants. Who laughed? Really?
Of course he laughed. He's
really?
15.
He doesn't understand.
Dude, no, they're just really trying to degrade him. But it's like everyone loves him.
I think it's. Oh, so good.
Yeah. I just want to point out that there's a Tom Cruise. I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan, but there's a Tom Cruise movie where the cops can predict the future.
Minority Report.
Yeah, Minority Report. Yep.
The little red balls.
Yep. So they set up Tom Cruise to take the fall for something, and the cop that's investigating it is like, this is an orgy of evidence, and every time I see an orgy of evidence, it's planted. Exactly. And that I had completely forgotten about that movie. I couldn't even remember the name of it. But when I started to find out about all, like, this guy had to handle a gun that was misfiring because it has a silencer on it, and he avoided detection for how long? And like you said, and he's gonna bring everything to fucking McDonald's.
Exactly. They couldn't find him, and you're telling me he avoided the police, the FBI. Everyone is on his dick. He's avoiding everyone, and you're telling me he was just like,
yeah,
surprise. Like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And exactly, whenever has a crime, that series been that easy to solve, like with all the evidence.
Right. And so, you were talking about Nancy Pelosi. There's another theory going around that that the CEO that died was actually trying to reform what the company was doing and was rolling back their they're shitty, but they weren't as super shitty as they were a couple of years ago. Yeah. And so he needed to go. And so the theory is that it was an inside job that that people in the company found this kid that was disenfranchised, set him up, and then led the cops to him. And that's not that hard to believe.
So the reason I played the Tony Nagy video was because she basically talked about her brand. And like, my brand is when I see something, I just don't trust the official story. the reason I played that is because when I saw it, I was like, you know what? If I'm being honest, like that's my brand. Like it's not. I
think everyone in this room can agree with that.
But I don't distrust the official story because I know something about it. I just distrust the official story because it's the official story.
Yeah.
And like from now until I get the truth about Epstein and the Epstein files, until I get the truth about until they release everything about the Kennedy assassination, until they release all the secret stuff about 9/11, everything's a psyop officially. I don't believe everything. Everything the mainstream media talks about, I will officially think is a psyop until you prove otherwise. So I have no evidence of my own to believe there's nothing not on the level of Luigi Mangione, but this shit feels psyop as fuck. So
everything, like how you said, ever since Epstein, it's like something new every 3 days.
He's innocent. Let him out.
So
he didn't do it.
Did you see this? Can you give my screen, please, Des? Have you seen this picture of them like perp walking him with like 1 million armed guards? This really feels like story, not reality. Like this feels like they're trying to play into all this, the romanticizing and everything. But the fact that they used terrorism charges against somebody for a single murder is fucking wild.
Terrorism charges?
So it was immediately they had a big reward. It was a whole manhunt. They're going to put all this effort into finding a guy who just killed one dude. Like, I'm sorry, you shouldn't kill people, but like, assuming the whole story is officially true, you just killed one dude who looks like he was kind of a shitbag, right? Like, do you know how many like missing children there are in this country right now? Do you know how many like unsolved murders there are of all the people out there who have a family who was killed in an unsolved murder and they get little to no police resources to solve it? People who've been victims of crime get no resources, and then this guy does something that 99% of us are like.
Bro, yesterday somebody came into my job and I had to hear this from a manager talking about like that he was gonna shoot up the place. Like randomly, they tell the person that's in the front, like, oh, don't get shot when they were leaving. But they call the police. The police come. Well, they call the security. The security's like, why are you calling me for? Oh, so you call 911. You call 911. They're like, but there was no probable cause. Like, we'll document it, but like we can't do anything. And it's like, bro, okay, so you can't do anything until he comes through and he shoots all of us.
Let's go back on
So you couldn't have possibly set up my next thing any better. All right, Des, give me this other thing now.
Basically usher in a new era. There's something that most people are missing when it comes to this story, and it's that.
Oh, sorry. This is so a woman called her a woman in Florida. This is about a week ago, I think. Called her insurance company and said, "What were the 3 words he wrote on the bullets? Deny." Whatever it was, there was the 3 words that he wrote on the bullet casings, right, in this whole story. And she, while she was on the phone with her insurance company, who denied her treatment, said denied depose, whatever the 3 things were, and she got arrested, and it looks like she's going to do jail time. So, and what you were saying, which is, oh well, people are now copycatting this. What can we do about it because they haven't broken laws yet?
This is an orchestrated media spectacle to basically usher in a new era of mass surveillance. Think Patriot Act 2.0. For those who don't know the story, a woman in Florida was charged by police on Tuesday after ending a call with an insurance company by saying delay, deny, depose, the 3 words that are reminiscent of the writings found in the shell casings retrieved at United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson's murder scene in New York last week. This woman was charged with threats to conduct a mass shooting or an act of terrorism, according to the affidavit. A judge set her bond at $100,000, describing it as, quote, appropriate considering the status of our country at this point, even though this lady doesn't even own a firearm. And they're saying, if convicted, this woman is facing up to 15 years in prison for speech. This is bonkers. And for those of you who are saying...
So, anyway, I don't want to get into that whole video either, but I think there's a connection there. I think there's a connection, and what happened with the Patriot Act in 2001, something they had written 4 years earlier, Joe Biden had been a major author of the Patriot Act, is they stepped back pretty much all of the Fourth Amendment, large portions of the First Amendment, made it easier for them to attack the Second Amendment. It was basically the biggest step back in civil rights that's ever happened in American history. And I think there's a very good chance that there's another version of this brewing. And I think this all plays very well into it. Just watching the way that regular people react, and you mentioned this, that regular people react and the mainstream media and the power structure reacted to this guy, it's night and day. right? And I saw one of the greatest things I saw. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is a right-wing blowhard who runs the Daily Wire. Just a very typical sort of Republican. And I followed him. I was familiar with him way back in the day because he makes lots of snarky asshole videos, and he'll basically go to college campuses and get in debates with freshmen and shit on them and let them think he's the smartest person in the world. During COVID, he had a few good points and that I tended to agree with him on. I found myself agreeing with some right wingers that I'd never agreed with before during COVID stuff. And he sort of became an advocate for free speech. He spoke out fairly consistently in 2020, 2021, 2022 about some of the limitations on freedom of speech. He then showed his true colors because he fired multiple people from his channel for not supporting Israel, for calling what's happening in Gaza genocide, etc. But he came out on his channel and spoke about this, and his channel is decidedly a right-wing conservative channel. And he basically came out and said, murder is wrong and this guy's bad. Why are you saying nice things about him? Da 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 da. And the people on his channel pretty much all came back with a very populist, centrist message of like, no, fuck you. Like, these guys are the bad guys. Why are you simping for CEOs who are killing us? And there's a moment of class consciousness that we're feeling now when we realize that working people are sort of, most of us, on the same team if it really comes down to it, and not falling for the same old culture war bullshit that they shove down our throat every 2 seconds. It gives me a little bit of inspiration. It makes me a little bit hopeful that maybe people are ready for change.
Did you hear about how they're trying to ban TikTok?
Well, I mean, it's official. It's official. They passed that law.
I heard that, and I heard that TikTok was fighting back. That they're going to try to at least.
So
they want them to get bought by an American company.
Exactly. The app, do you want to add something, Des?
Yes, okay. I was telling you about this earlier, about how one of my teachers was talking mad shit about TikTok and how they're stealing your data and selling it to Chinese whatever. And like I was talking to some random person in front of me. I'm like, you need to know, like, everyone else does that. Instagram, YouTube, all these other platforms do that, except instead of selling them to a Chinese government, which whatever, this some bullshit. They sell it to Americans, and they're also like there's like bunch of like they sell on the dark web and shit like that. Like, so it's not much different.
So you're 100% right. And the charge that they're leveling against TikTok, which is a fair charge, stealing people's data, your users' data, is something we should be concerned about. You're 100% right. They're not any different than any other internet company. It's all these things are doing it. Well, the reason Facebook is still up is because Facebook was founded by the CIA, and it's designed to take all your data. Although something about community standards on YouTube, information purposes only, opinion not fact, etc.
This is all a joke.
Yeah, it's all very funny.
This is all very hard level of sarcasm.
But
did you ever see some of the trial with the creator of TikTok? They were like, are you Chinese? He's like, I'm Singaporean, and it's like every fucking.
Oh yeah, no, they're being extremely racist. It's not even funny.
Have you ever been to China? No, I'm from Singapore. Have you ever associated with Chinese? Have you ever been in any step foot in their military? No, I'm Singaporean. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's crazy because like taking the speech, they're doing it because TikTok is one of the biggest forms of like untainted education.
Well, it's tainted. I mean, there's still censored. There's still censorship on there.
Oh, it's aggressive.
But it's very aggressive. But I think you're right. The reason for taking it down has nothing to do with protecting Americans. It's everything to do with the way that information has been disseminated on TikTok. Israel has not been a big fan of some of the reporting from Gaza on TikTok. And if I was gonna take a guess at it, if I was gonna throw my money in a hat on the real reason that TikTok is getting banned, it's because they don't want to see any more dead baby videos from Gaza.
Yeah. Exactly. And prior to that, the dead baby videos that were coming out of Ukraine.
Sure, yeah.
It just, like, okay, yeah, it's tainted, of course. It's very restricted, but also, like, it's that. Like, all I see is information that I'm not seeing on the news, I'm seeing on TikTok. And if you look into it, yeah, it's going to have false stuff, but there's a lot that's true. And it's like I didn't know how aggressive, like, back when the Palestine war started, I didn't know. It was very like, oh, Israel victim, and then aggressively like more people are coming out. It's like, no, Palestine's the victim. Like, look what's going on, and I didn't know it
Context.
was that much.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and there's such strict censorship in the mainstream media around this topic. It's the most censored topic
Not
possibly.
to mention the history books that they would literally, America will literally go to other countries and scribble things out or give them new books to start teaching people. So we don't know anything.
So let's shift. We moved on to Gaza, so I want to just quickly touch on it. I'm really personally, I struggle with this story particularly because I want to make sure that we're always shedding light on it, but it feels, I also like to end things positively and put positive spins on things as much as possible and try and make this empowering. And I don't feel that way about anything going on in Gaza. It just feels fucking horrendous. But not enough of it is going in the news, so I wanted to just add. There's 3 little bits I want to talk about here. Mike Casey is one of them. If you want to give me this, Des, one of the State Department workers from who was working in this part of the country has quit his job, and part of the reason he quit it was when Biden was coming out being like, "Oh, I don't believe the numbers of how many people are dead. Oh, I don't believe those numbers." Mike Casey was one of the people responsible for putting those numbers together. So he was actually in Gaza counting all the dead babies, and he was saying, "Oh no, actually these are real numbers." And then of course Biden has to go on and do politics and go, "Well, actually Israel's our greatest ally, and they never do anything wrong," and blah 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 blah. So this is another. There's some good interviews of this guy. Go find it. But Mike Casey leaving the State Department over the genocide in Israel. Let's be honest. I mean, in Gaza. Let's be honest. One other one I have here. This is another person who's left. I'm going to skip this one. This is just another military person saying horrible things are happening over there. I want to go to the last one, which is a doctor. I think it's the last one I have. Yeah. Talking about some of the stuff going on. I just want to share this. So he spoke on the targeting of civilians, and this is really one of the things that I find really hard to see the position of the other side on. I always do my best to say, all right, what is the other side's perspective on this? And this is one I'm really struggling with, because when you're bombing hospitals and schools and shooting kids with drones, and this guy testifies that he's seen kids shot in the head and in the heart, one kid shot in both places by a drone. That's not by accident, and I can't think of any possible justification for ever doing such a absolutely obviously horrendous thing, and it's all happening with our tax dollars. If we were not paying our taxes, this would not be happening. So every single one of us, if you have a job in this country and you put in your W-2 or whatever, your 1099 or whatever to the U.S. government, we are paying for this. This is our blood is on my hands because I've been paying my taxes in this country.
So I heard a conspiracy recently, which was pretty much that we only pay taxes so we feel like we're responsible for a lot of things that are going on. Because in reality, they have the money printed. We could all stop paying taxes, but they're still printing that. You're still going to use it to buy things.
Yes, but the entire system is based on the promise that we'll pay our taxes.
But I feel like it's gotten so, the paperwork has gotten so thick, it's already past the point where it's nobody could pay taxes and there's still going to be money getting printed.
Wasn't taxes a temporary thing? I believe taxes were a temporary thing, and then it was made permanent.
16th Amendment, is that the one? 16th, 17th? Yeah, it was. So there was no income tax in this country until 1910, 12, somewhere in that range.
It was supposed to be temporary, if I remember.
Yeah. And when it first came out, it was only on the very wealthy. It was only on people making over $500,000 in those days. So very rich millionaires, and I think the top rate was 8% or something.
And I also think too with the taxes, that how that's actually being a psyop. It doesn't matter if we pay it or not. We're in debt. The country's in mad debt. All of us are paying all of these taxes. This money isn't going anywhere. They're just printing it.
Right.
It's all. I feel like it's all a mind game. It's just all a bunch of paperwork.
You're right. Here's the analogy, though. Right. So if you have a mortgage on your house, you had to have a job to get that mortgage. Right. So you have your mortgage on your house. If you quit your job and you don't try and get a new one, you're going to default on your loan, and they're not going to want to give. They wouldn't give you another loan if you didn't put that. If you weren't paying it on, if you didn't have a job and you weren't paying your mortgage, the house is still going to be there. The house is the house. in real life, nothing actually changed, but the financial system is all based on the promise of you paying back that debt. And the same is true with taxation. The reason they can take out $37 trillion, whatever fucking number we're at now. By the way, Republicans failed at fighting that. Republicans are not fiscally conservative. Fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Yes, they are.
But the idea, the reason that we pay taxes because that's like the mortgage payment on that $37 trillion. And if we all said, fuck it, we're not paying taxes, then they can't take out any more loans based on the fact that we're going to pay taxes. So you're right. Essentially, the money that they're sending to Israel and to Ukraine and to, the 800 U.S. foreign military base and whatever, that's mostly just getting printed out of thin air. They don't actually need to collect your taxes to do it, but the system with which they collect taxes to fund the government is required for them to print the money out of thin air.
Yeah, I love looking at
And
it.
in addition...
Oh, my bad.
Oh, no.
Like I was saying, like we kind of crossed the line. If we don't pay taxes and they can't get any more loans, they got the guns.
Well, the American people have more guns than the American government does.
We don't got drones, though.
We don't got tanks.
We don't got drones.
They got aggressive.
So
one drone could probably kill like 1,000 people, and then when you kill the drone, it's not even you didn't even kill them.
Yeah, but you need someone to drive that drone. So
not in the country.
So Tony Nagy talked about this in her video, right? Like technologically speaking, it's a fact. Like it's factual that the technological might of the U.S. military is stronger than the might of the American people. But that requires two things. That requires one, American soldiers being willing to shoot on American people, which I would like to think most would not. But
all of this government experience,
especially because they get treated like shit and then tossed to the side once they're done.
Right. So I think there's a lot of that as well.
Hope.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is the willingness to are they going to nuke New York City? Like I just think there's a certain practical, they're going to bring an F-16 in to take out Nashua. Like I don't think that's super realistic. Yeah. And again, the reason why Japan never had any plans of invading the United States, because there will be a rifle behind every blade of grass. So anyway, I'm a civil rights person in all rights, all your rights, all the time.
So jumping on that pile. Part of the reason that we pay taxes is I firmly believe that slavery never went away. We're all enslaved. Like our rent, our insurance, our taxes, like. I'm self-employed. I pay 45+% of my income. Like on Christmas Day, when I'm done at my brother's house, I need to go home and dump everything into QuickBooks and figure out how much money I need to spend so that I can get below a certain line so I'm not in that no man's land so that I can afford my health insurance because I'm self-employed. And you're right, we might not need to pay our taxes, but our taxes do a pretty damn good job of keeping everybody nose to the grindstone. Everyone's got to work fucking 40, 80, 100 hours a week to survive, to pay our taxes, to pay our fucking insane rents. Remember that Lou Reed song? Someone's paying $1,000 a month for this place. You can believe it, man. It's true. Somewhere's a landlord's laughing until he wets his pants. Where the fuck can you rent anything for $1,000 a month?
Right.
No, that's
both country.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You have to get like 20 roommates at this point. You can't live.
No, so I think the point that you're making is certainly going to ring true with any group of working people, right? Even people who've done well, college educated, et cetera, are still paycheck to paycheck. I think 90-something% of us, right? Like
she put herself through school. She's a CPA. She makes $100,000 a year. She lives in fucking Ohio, and she's got to fucking do Uber and fucking DoorDash and shit to make ends meet. She's a CPA, makes over $100,000 a year. She's got one kid, and and she rents, and she can't own shit.
I don't understand how we're expected to survive.
We're not. Well, we're expected so we're expected to just survive. That's the whole point, right? You don't want to have people so broke that they can't go to work the next day. They got to keep going to work, right? But you have to have them broke enough that they can't get any level of financial independence. They can't buy the piece of land and start the farm and have a little workshop and whatever.
But then they were on dick about, hey, you need to start buying stuff again. Because there was like a bunch of articles coming out saying like, oh, people are not buying enough, they're not consuming enough. But then they're like, work more.
Yeah.
Just work.
But that's every time there's been a recession in my lifetime, there's always the like, well, people just need to go out and start spending. Like, fuck you. Like, no, definitely don't want me saving my money and providing for my family and my future and whatever. Yeah.
It's hard because I'm getting compared to how like, oh man, at your age, I was already moved out, and it's like, okay, your age, you can afford it. At your age, you can afford that, groceries, working at Market Basket. I can't do that.
Yeah, in the 1970s, my parents bought their house in Essex, Massachusetts for $35,000. My mom had to sell the house. The mortgage was paid. She couldn't afford the fucking land taxes.
I believe that, yeah.
And that house is now worth $750,000.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a house that was in our family for 2 generations. I wanted it to be 3. I just couldn't make it work.
Yeah. No, that's a position a lot of people are in.
I make well over 6 figures. I live with my parents.
Yeah.
I couldn't survive living on my own.
Yeah, I got lucky, and in 2015, before things went completely insane, I got my hands on a summer cottage in a little religious community, and I'm embarrassed to tell you what I paid for it. It's probably worth 10 times what I paid for it.
Yeah.
And so that's the closest I'm ever going to get to home ownership.
The community in Hamilton?
Yeah.
I was looking at those and I'm like, I could pretend to be religious for a few days.
Hearing this hurts.
They wouldn't believe you.
It truly hurts to hear this.
Yeah, they were selling those houses for like $150. And they were beautiful little cottages you could fix up, and it looked like a
but
little
you
hamlet.
can only live in them for 6 months is what the problem is.
Yeah.
But I got lucky in that I have a winter rental, and the guy that rented it before me trashed the place and stiffed the guy on rent. So like, they're like, we love having you come back every year. So
Yeah, that little community house has always made me kind of look at that. I was really thinking, hey, I was a Sunday school teacher for 20 years. And then I decided I hated children.
Fair enough. All right. So at that point, I mean,
everybody looks at this.
So I wanted
After
to.
20 years, you're done.
Close enough.
It took you 20 years?
Did it for 20 years.
I had wanted to move on to Syria. I have some great stuff on Syria. Unfortunately, we are well over time due to the lovely, fruitful, and naturally occurring conversation among this wonderful group of intelligent human beings. So we're not going to have time for that. We will get back to it next week. We're going to start with Syria next week because I really want to get to it. Talk about the fact that we've basically kicked out the last government that was not pro-Israel in the Middle East and installed the Islamists. I mean, basically installed ISIS and Al-Qaeda, the people that supposedly were the mortal threat to the United States for the last 20 years, that we had to do everything we had to give up. We had to have the Patriot Act. We had to give up our rights. We had to spend however many $1 trillion in Iraq, however many $1 trillion in Afghanistan. We had to kill probably 1 million people in Iraq between the sanctions and the war, all because Islamists are the worst. And then we just spent about $1 billion installing them in Syria. So I got lots of details on that story for next week. But we're going to have to wrap a little early for this week. As I was saying that, I'm like, fuck, I need to find something positive to end our show with, because we just went from conspiracy theories to not being able to afford to live to the latest and greatest war. So I would like to think of something slightly more positive to end on. Anybody got anything?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. All right, John, go.
All right. So one of the things that that really made me smile earlier is how much this young lady is really being able to live life in spite of all of the shit that we've been talking about. Right? Like it really does. It makes you smile that there's someone your age that's doing what they want to do and zigging when other people would zag. And
that's a good one.
A lot of us, especially myself, I had a lot of doubters. John, you can't do this. John, you can't do that. I came home from school in high school with straight A's on a report card, but all the A's were in shop class. And my mom's like, why can't you get grades like this and classes will get you a good job like your cousin Toby's going to Pepperdine next year? I mean, that's what I was up against. And so in the last couple of years, I have developed this mindset of vengeful happiness. And I am going to make all of my haters fucking choke on my happiness. And I mean, it is a motivator. I'm 50. I'm going to be 54 in February. I was the blue collar kid in a white collar high school. The two kids in sports that don't get to play are the backup quarterback and the backup goalie. And I'm 54 years old, and I'm playing some of the best hockey of my life right now. I've now started more alumni games than I did actual hockey games for Hamilton High School, and it's a feather in my cap. And like, I want my old coach to show up. I want him to see how good I am doing. I want him to see how happy I am. All of the people in my life that have tried to trip me up, I want them to see how much I enjoy myself on stage, much like when you're on the runway, when I'm on the rink. My retirement plan was to make enough money to go lobstering, and I don't have enough money. I didn't make a lot of money. I just, my dad died, and I started from scratch. I got his license. Seriously, when you look in the mirror, measure your success by how big your smile is when you tell people what you're doing for a living. And if you don't have a big smile, do something different. There's no reason you got to keep doing what you're fucking doing.
Yes, and if there is a reason you have to keep doing what you're fucking doing, make a plan.
Yes.
Put yourself in a position to change it, yeah.
Yes, and when it gets hard, just remember, they're going to choke on how happy you are.
Yeah, choke on that. Thank you. Again, I'm going to go back to everyone in middle school. Choke on my happiness. Thank you.
Vengeful.
You go, girl.
Vengefully happy.
I'm vengefully happy. No, but for real, though, I truly... It's awesome to hear, though. Like, that's the best. That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Vengeful happiness. I've never thought about it like that.
No, neither did I.
Because I'm truly happy, but it's also like in the back of my head, I'm like, for everyone who's ever been mean to me, who never thought I was pretty enough, joke's on you. I get my photos taken because people want to. That's the crazy part. So I'm just like, thank you. Anywho, moving on to the next. But yeah, I truly am very grateful for all the opportunities I've been given, and it's like it's true happiness I felt this year. Like starting of the year, I never thought it was gonna get better. I was just, it's crazy to be where I am now, and to like have my face be known. That's wild.
You're out here.
That shit's wild though. I've had people go, wait, oh my god, your photos. I'm like, what? And she's like, I had a girl, she comes up to me, she's like, oh my god, I followed you on Instagram, I love your photos so much. And I was like, thank you. I didn't know how to feel. I was like, because I posted a photo with one of my buddies, Christian, and he was like, it was great.
Real quick, can you switch my screen on that note? If you would like to follow Kaylie on Instagram, here's where to go. Lovely pictures, lots to see. I highly recommend it. So yeah, go ahead and follow her.
Yeah. Also, loop back. I forgot to mention where the casting for Mass Fashion.
Oh yeah, where's that
at? It is gonna be at. What do you say that studio?
Modular Studios.
Modular Studio. I'm illiterate. I'm just kidding. But Modular Studios, it's gonna be on the 18th, 1 to 3. 15 Union Street. Please come. It doesn't hurt to try. You can find their Instagram, Mass Fashion. Truly, it's great meeting people. Even if you're not picked, it's still fun. Like it's
an amazing community. You definitely make a whole bunch of friends. There's times I'll run into Kaylie doing different shoots and different things. It's like, oh, we're working on the same thing. You know this person too. It's like everybody knows each other.
Exactly. And also, if trying out for runway is not your thing, watch a show. Grab a ticket.
Buy some
like
clothes.
Say hi. Come on.
This is on sale.
Exactly. Like it's at the end of the day, it's not just for models. It can be for designers too. They have designer applications vendors. If you're trying to get yourself out there, it is a great opportunity to be a part of runway. Yes, it's stressful, but it's fun. It is so fun. It is genuinely such an experience, and I regret nothing of this year. I regret absolutely nothing. So, if you come to the casting, say hi. I'm an ambassador, so again, throw that out there. That I will be there, and fuck it. Yellow.
Happiness right there.
Beautiful. Vengefully happy.
Vengefully happy. Thank you. I am truly happy. I fight with my happiness, not my words, because I can't talk.
I'm expecting a fashion line. Vengeful happiness.
Please, someone make that, because I'm not a designer. I can never. Like, I'll
But
model
you know
it.
designers.
Yes, actually. That would be a cool line, though. Vengeful happiness, and like it's like dark, but like smiley faces on it and shit.
like it.
I love
Sounds like
it.
some sensitive club shit. To be honest, I might adopt that.
Yeah, real quick add on that. Being subtle, not so subtle.
John, do you have any shows coming up that we can any Top Hat Johnny shows coming up?
I know there's one coming up at the Cut in January, but I don't have the date yet.
Okay.
But if you want to see more of my shenanigans, just look for me on Facebook, Top Hat Johnny. It'll be pretty obvious it's me. That's where I post all my stuff.
Sweet, thank you. Beth, what do you got to plug? Can you tell us about your latest yoga adventures?
Well, I'm trying to finish up what I got currently on my plate. I'm still over at Essence in downtown Haverhill, 14 Washington Street. We are going to be doing some free yoga classes to finish up the year. Diaper drive as well. So far, my mother's been the primary donator, although it has filled up my entry hall. My mom's gone nuts. But we are doing a diaper drive, so if you feel inclined and would like to pay for yoga using diapers, we would gladly accept them.
I assume children diapers, not
Yes,
adult
please,
diapers. Okay.
children.
Can I wear adult diapers for yoga?
Hey, you gotta wear pants, but I don't care what you wear underneath your pants.
Sick.
And we're doing a New Year's Eve bash for that. It's gonna be an hour and a half, glow light, dance music. Gonna be completely obnoxious to my neighbors. Hopefully they'll just kick me out so I can move on.
Dude.
It's a strategy. I like it.
Christmas is Wednesday.
Christmas is Wednesday.
I've not processed life.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about any Christmas stuff. We got
Process
too
life.
serious.
Dude.
That's why I brought the cookies.
Literally Wednesday.
That's why I brought the cookies. That's why they're mint flavored.
Oh yeah, we got cookies here, huh? Yeah, we gotta get. Des, did you eat them all?
No.
Right
Also,
there.
back onto the diaper thing. Wasn't that the Hudson? Like the big thing with Hudson? There was a thing where adults could wear diapers. Some freaky ass shit like that.
Yeah, that's a.
Adult diapers been a thing.
No, but it was like a sexual pleasure thing.
Oh, it's
like,
called age play. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just fucking.
Age play.
It's
Okay.
called
That was in Atkinson, New Hampshire. There was a.
Yeah,
yes,
that's just freaky.
They tried to start
Gotta do with
something
adult
else.
diapers.
There's something.
Oh, because they like to pretend to be children.
You do like
and
a
baby.
whole So
Yeah,
this is.
like
It's typically like for like a trauma thing. It's just shit's crazy.
It was
Like
a
H, like out of all the letters.
Why?
no age.
Oh,
You're
age.
15.
Oh.
I'm
They
aware.
want to be babies and have their mama take
I heard
care of them.
him and his brother talk about that. They were talking about some.
It's because my brother lives in Atkinson, and Atkinson was the town that they were. Owen was trying to open up one of these centers or whatever, provide the service, and the people of Atkinson didn't
Epstein
want-
centers. That's what they should.
Well, listen, if it's a consenting adults to each their own, everyone can do what they
Well,
want.
wasn't the big deal that they were
Make
trying
it a whole
to try to put
building,
kids
though?
into it?
Like,
Weren't they trying to bring kids into that shit?
No. It's
And lock the doors.
adults who want to pretend they're children.
That's fucking gross.
Listen to each again, bro. If
Grow the fuck up. Actually,
Since
Call that
says
shit
the
out.
child who is trying to grow up. It's like that's
No, yeah, like do your thing, but don't try and
listen,
like put
everyone
that shit
to
in
each.
public.
As long as you're
no kink shaming here.
As
Just
long as you're consenting
chill.
adults, that's in private. Everyone can do what they want to do. That's why
This is why we were always going to war. Like, there's too much population, too much options.
Kink shaming.
I just want to take a minute to the federal agents that are tasked with following me. I am sorry, or you're welcome, depending on what you're into.
All right. I think any last words for anyone? We should probably wrap. It's getting a little late in the evening. We will next week start on time. It's gonna happen. We've gone 3 shows this season. We've yet to have an on time start, but it will happen this week. So help me God.
we just go on
theory.
YouTube,
Yes.
and then they cut us off after 15 minutes.
Any last words? Anybody? Any last plugs?
You go first.
No, tell them to flip the camera.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Oh, I have a show coming up on the 21st in Rhode Island for any Rhode Island folks or anyone who wants to come out. It's called Blush Fest. It is a very fun show. You can see it on my Instagram for the link. I'm going to throw that out there. That 0.5. DeAndre is a really cool designer, and he holds some really sick shows, and he's such a nice person. So I just want to... It's 249 Main Street, Pentucket, Rhode Island. I've never been to Rhode Island, so
I
it's
believe
going to be
that's
my first time.
Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
I've never been to Rhode Island. I'm so excited. I want to travel all 50 states. So this is a check off my list. This is a check off my
You
list.
said 249 Main Street. Is that what you said?
Rhode Island is kind of the state, I guess.
There you go. So that's where it's at. Cool.
Kind of state.
I got like
So-
35, I think, states.
That she's from Rhode Island.
I don't have that many states.
There you
but
Unfortunately, she's probably
come
watching.
out. It's really fun. Fashion shows are fun. and they're really cool people, and it supports designers, models, artists. So yeah.
Awesome.
Come out, please. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Shout out to Rafi for his Christmas gift. Told him I was gonna wear it today. He's probably watching the show. And shout out Sensitive Glow.
Anybody else? Last words? So, get me, bro.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
There you go. Thank you. So I would like to thank everybody for being here. Kaylie, it's been wonderful having you as a guest. You've been lovely and informative, and your energy is fucking magical, so I love it. Thanks, Engineer Daz back there on the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. Much love to Broadcast Easy for holding it down, as he always does, in the many ways that he provides for the Doing Better show. And, of course, Beth and Top Hat Johnny for being here. Again, wonderful, wonderful participants with lots to add to the show. I am really excited for a week of spending some time with family, and I hope you all have the opportunity to do so, regardless of what you celebrate and value. Please make sure you spend the time with your family. Enjoy it. I know often this time of year there's anxiety about some of those family interactions, some of those dynamics. You might go, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going. I'm going to tell everyone I'm sick. I don't want to go and whatever. I don't want to listen to my uncle talk about this, and my mom's going to nag me about that or whatever. And I would just encourage you all to go and take advantage of those opportunities. Go spend the time with people. Put the thing aside. Yeah. Don't take the bait on whatever your uncle says, and don't argue with your mother about, whether or not you should have gone to that college or this college, or whether or not she likes your boyfriend or whatever. Let's all take the opportunity to really enjoy the time with our family. Life is short, and you never know when you're going to have those opportunities. So, and don't buy a bunch of shit you can't afford. It's probably too late for that, but go spend time with people. Don't run up your credit card and fuck yourself tomorrow to buy some shit that nobody actually probably likes anyway. Go love people. Go spend time with them. Go give them your energy. Go give them this yourself. Paint someone a picture. Make them some dinner. Write them a song. Help clean up their laundry room. Whatever. Don't buy a bunch of consumer shit and hurt yourself financially for the future.
Or something.
Consumerism.
Why does it have to be a Bible? That's just... Why just the Bible?
All right, look, don't start opening fucking cans of worms.
Sorry. And also when you said about the whatever you celebrate, the made me think of the Kamala thing where she said, "We can't be saying Merry Christmas," and then she says another clip of her saying Merry Christmas, everyone.
Listen, you're going down worms and rabbit holes and such. I'm trying to have a nice, positive, thoughtful end of the show.
Originated?
Again, you guys are going to go on all kinds of pagan fucking wormholes, and we're not doing it. No rabbit holes.
Happy holidays.
Love, appreciation, gratitude, time with family. I love you all for joining us. I appreciate the shit out of all you guys for being here. And yeah, let's have a wonderful holiday season. We will be back next week, the 29th, with a wonderful show. Really looking forward to seeing you. If you would like to get involved in anything Doing Better show, if you want to come be the guest and get the questions answered to you want to come be on the panel and share your 2 cents on the issues, or you want to tell us what to talk about, let us know. We're all here and wide open. We are only trying to grow and get better.
That's a transcript.
Oh, government's listening to me. Awesome. Fuck off, Siri. All right. Love you all. Thank you so much. I am Oliver Ox. This has been